First of all, let me thank the organizers to giving me an opportunity for participating in this very useful session. In fact, it was a very good learning experience since this morning. It was very informative, and at least I gained a lot of new information from these various presentations. And also, even though the hall is empty now, in the morning we had a full audience, and very rarely I see that very active participation from the farmers and the industry in such meetings. Normally, when we organize meetings in the research institutes, just like a caged birds, a few farmers are picked up from here and there, and they were tutored to speak something, but we have seen the real participation from farmers and also the industry here. It was a very good experience, at least for me, it was a very good learning experience. And also it's a very pleasant experience because all the speakers were very free. Normally there was no pressure on time. There was no bell ringing and asking them to stop in between. So they were very free to express, and that was also a very, very pleasant experience, and we could see whatever they wanted to say, they told, and each and every questions were answered, and there was no pressure on the speakers. I especially thank Murthy for conducting the meeting this way. Coming to the presentations, we had the very informative speech by Tim. He has explained the cost-effective way of feed formulations. In fact, we hear about the feed, the performance of feed in terms of growth, survival, etc. But he has given a totally different dimension. He has given some minute dynamics of the feed efficiency in terms of how an investor feels for every dollar he spent, how much he gains in terms of fish flesh growth by different combinations. Then Sundar Rai and K.C. Das, my friends from CIBA, they gave the details of the two significant contributions from ICR CIBA. One is the maturation diet, one was the maturation diet that CIBA breed, and also the carb starter for the larval rearing. Sundarai has very clearly shown how it is important. It has got several advantages. It increases the maturation period time. It is high fecundity rate, then high fertilization rate, high hatching percentage, spawn recovery, and also the survival from spawn to fry and fry to fingerlings. So what is needed is this technology or this aspect is to be emphasized, because otherwise a lot of resources can be saved by applying special feed for maturation and also for larval rearing. Similarly, K.C. Das has given how 1.5 to 2 times more faster growth and 20 to 30% better survival when you use this particular feed for larval rearing, and also you achieve uniform growth rate. Vijay Anand is not here, but then apart from his stature in the industry and the sector, I am also a fan of his presentation skills. Very eloquently he has presented the comparison between the poultry sector and our aquaculture sector, telling how accurately the science is being used in poultry sector, and our sector, aquaculture, should learn a lesson from poultry sector, how to leverage the science and the latest technology to increase production and productivity to the benefit of the investors. In fact, they used nutrition, genetics, and also the integration of the farming techniques. All these things are there. We should learn. But then one thing I wanted to tell Vijay Anand, is not here, is that when he himself told in the presentation that if we come, instead of one side fish against chicken, if you put tilapia against chicken, the whole presentation would have been totally different. That he himself told. Because when chicken, you're talking about just one animal and just one technology that can be adapted across the country. Whoever want to invest, whoever want to learn and implement the technologies. Whereas when it comes to fish, aquaculture, we have got an array of species, and also there is the local geographical variations. For example, if you in Kerala, if you go, they need Atroplus or tilapia and your paku and so on. Whereas you go to other states, it may be carps, eastern ages carps. So we have to deal with the different species, and the technologies are different for different species. And also, we should also learn, he also told how the post-harvest technologies are used for chicken. Whereas when come to, we have got a problem there. You see, you have never heard of a glut in the chicken market. If you produce more chicken, you can always sell. But there is no glut. You can sell it. That is why it is growing very fast. Whereas if you produce more fish, then you have to be cautious, because we have seen that in northern India, after the pangasius came, people started producing pangasius in large quantity, and they faced a problem of where to sell, how to sell that pangasius. So because there was not the production cost, because the scale at the scale, stocking density and the production per hectare is so huge that you will be having a lot of fish and they do not know where to sell. So then there is a dilemma in our country. We produce a lot of pangasius and say that, sir, I cannot sell, and you import basa from outside and eat that, paying through your nose in the foreign exchange. All these things have to be considered, because unless the value addition goes side by side, all type of growth that we are suggesting, doubling, tripling, how will it happen? If you ask people to produce more, and we should guarantee that they should get a price, otherwise there is no incentive for production. So value addition, it is not something reserved for export. It is something that is a reality. Without value addition, we are not going to achieve all these productions. Value addition does not mean that all kinds of latest processing. Even live fish selling itself is a value addition, as it has been told to us. When you sell in live fish, you get a much better price. Then comes Srinivas. He talked about the quality fishery from the industry perspective. So what we see from farmer side, the industry sees from a different angle. He told the economic of feed cost versus fish price. That is very important. And then he also told that we have a narrow range of fish species in our country. That is also something that is coming in the way of development of the feed industry. Then he also mentioned about the need for value addition. Live fish trade, when you market or sell in live condition, how you can get a better price. But then he was very confident that with little bit of improvement in the process, our aquaculture can grow much faster. Then from Rajiv Gandhi Center for Aquaculture, Shanmuga Arastu, he talked about the capacity of that institute in CIBA's, both the hatchery rearing, the broodstock rearing, hatchery growth, and he also gave the economics of the production. Also, they had mud crabs, nursery rearing, growth, and then the soft-shelled crab, which is a very good export market. And also, they have Kobe and Pampano. These are the opportunities, and I've seen that people are interested, and people already they decided that they will go to RGCA for the training needs. This is one of the good outputs that we are seeing of our exercise, because now we decided how to make a platform for different subsectors. So now we are seeing the fruits of our efforts. Then some of our farmer friends, they requested that this kind of expo should be done at district levels, and they also wanted 2-3 days training for the people in districts in the local language, and they also wanted NFDB training, and the Department of Fisheries representative, they promised them that this will be met. Then from the feed industry, again, there was a suggestion, and there is a complaint that they have got over capacity, and there is seed is not lifted. Whatever capacity is there, they cannot utilize properly. Fisheries college students, they also mentioned about the question of heavy metals and chemicals presence in the feed, and that should be addressed. These are the summary of the presentations, and then before concluding, I want to have some general observations about our my feelings about what we have been. So now, somewhere in 2017, just before our first meeting in 2018 January, we have been discussing about the vision, mission, and objectives of this organization. At that time, we decided that we ourselves decided that we will arrange a platform for where the industry, the farmers, and the Department of Fisheries and Research Institutes, all these four segments can have an exchange of views, and we can also arrange for any kind of synergy that is required. I am seeing that first version of this expo was very well done, and this time it was even better. That in this last 2 days, yesterday and today, we have seen that how when industry representative speaks, how the scientists are reacting to it, and also when some government organization told how the farmers wanted to take advantage of that. I think we are finding the fruits of what we have been doing. And I think this makes me feel that we are in the right direction. But today's session, basically it was on feed. So what the take home from this session is that we have seen the knowledge, all the experts from the research institutes, they have placed on the table the technologies. Now it is our duty to say this flow of this information, the flow of knowledge into the farmers and the flow of this knowledge to the trade. So it is a duty of, or it is our endeavor at CIFA to facilitate this kind of integration or this kind of dissemination. Now, similarly, we heard the problems of farmers and trade from the feed angle, and that we will be certainly taking note of that, and we will do our best to allow this flow of information. And also there was always I have seen in my experience for the last 1 decade that there is, whether you admit or not, there is a conflict between the research institute and the private trade, feed trade. And that is something not desirable for our country. So our duty is to harmonize or synergize this kind of activities between the trade and because trade they have different objectives, and the research institutes we have got different objectives. So we should synergize this, and we should try to make these two sectors work in harmony. Perhaps whatever we can do for that, perhaps we will look into that. So because this synergy is needed mainly for cost cutting, and then for acceptability and all, then there is a need for standardization or certification, whatever it may be. Then one point I want to make very clear here is that we have got the Coastal Aquaculture Authority for the brackish-water aquaculture. They have got a sort of regulatory mechanisms, but freshwater aquaculture is totally orphaned. There is no regulations, there is nobody knows what to do. Neither state government knows, nor the industry knows, nor the scientists know. So this is the problem, because if for example, I will tell you, if you want to do tilapia, if you want to gift tilapia, somehow it is coming under the guidelines. So you know what type of seed is to be used, where it can be sourced, who are the license authorities, and so on. Similarly, if you come to Vanami, we know where to get it and how to do it. There are regulations what you have to follow. But you come to the freshwater aquaculture, whether it is cage culture or pond aquaculture, nobody knows what is to be done and what is legal and what is illegal and what is allowed and what is not allowed. So there is a very urgent need for a regulatory mechanism here that is for our own good. Because cage culture, for example, if it is a very good thing, you can increase a lot of production, but if unregulated, uncontrolled cage culture can have a disaster for the country. So this also we have to see. The people they do not know how to do it and how to do it in a sustainable basis. So country needs a regulatory mechanism. Yes, there is a policy. There is an inland fishery aquaculture policy in the draft stage, but then if any that policy is to be implemented, we need a sort of mechanism. So where is it? It is not there. If it is not there, it is to be formed. Then there should be, we are the agency, we can do a facilitatory role. We can push or we can even advocacy, telling that that type of regulatory mechanism is very much lacking in our country. So this forum should take advantage of the presence of all these groups, and we should collectively do a push for making such a mechanism. Then another issue that came up very prominently is the value addition. Value addition is something that we have to do. Without that, all kinds of growth that we are telling, it will never be achieved. I'm telling you, because if you want to increase the 4 million tons aquaculture production to 8 million tons as we envisage, but then they cannot produce unless it is produced by private investors. They will not produce unless they will be able to sell. And we have seen the examples, and we are talking about 20 ton per hectare, 10 ton per hectare kind of production. If that kind of huge food is produced, then how to market it? As I told earlier, fish is, unlike chicken, fish has got a glut problem. If you produce then now they say that farmers, they keep the fish for the festival season and so on to manipulate the price. And then unless you have the value addition, you cannot sell the fish. For Pangas is the very clear example, because the producers, they always complain that we don't get the production cost, but then we buy basa from outside and eat. Why our basa we cannot sell? So if somebody can make basa and push down on our throats, then why we send rockets to moon, and we are manned mission to moon, and we cannot make a basa to compete the imported basa? So these are the areas where we should make a retrospection. And our basa, we have got a fillet, but that fillet is not acceptable to the people. Then make one acceptable to it. But I was told that basa is also not good for health, because that is bleached or something like that. In that case, we should make people aware that is a health hazard and so on. So this is a very important meeting. So this session, I think I have seen many points where we can help the achieving the country's needs also, and also fulfill the objectives that we have been set for ourselves. So we can perhaps, we have got, one more example before I wind up. See, they take the example of CIBAs. So when I was in NFDA, farmers were telling that, sir, we don't need any subsidy, we don't need any money, give me a source where I can get a steady supply of CIBA's seed. Then institutes say that we have got a perfect technology, there is no problem with this seed. But then, where is the problem? So, you see, problem is that CIBA and RGCA, these two people, they have got technology, but they cannot be the suppliers. They cannot supply to these two institutes, cannot become a supplier of seed to the whole country. So, for that, we should develop a chain or system in place so that they produce and supply, and then such institute can move over to another species. But this is not happening. So why it is not happening? So we have to probe, and then perhaps CIFA is the forum. We don't have the money, as was telling. I told him. He told we don't have money, but we need not money. We can arrange a forum where this is one example I told. Several such examples are there. Perhaps CIFA can arrange a forum a small group of people from the different sectors and sort out this problem. So I think we have done a very good job this morning and the whole day. And even though now the hall is empty, but during the sessions it was full, and I was very much happy to see that full participation from all the people. I thank you very much for patiently sitting through the whole entire session. And we missed Ramachandra Rao's presentation. I don't know what to do with that. Perhaps you may do it tomorrow, or even now you can do that. Anyway, thank you once again. Thank you, CIFA, for giving me an opportunity, and thank you all for patient listening. Thank you.